Hi everyone, welcome to Thursday, and like we do every Thursday we take a look at a share and do a review on it. Now today we're going to take a look at Vector, so just remember that this is for educational purposes only. If you're looking for personalised financial advice, then you will need to go and have a chat to your own financial advisor. However, if you are wanting me to review a share for you, doesn't have to be on the New Zealand market, it can be anywhere. By all means, drop it in the comments and I'm happy to do a future video on that for you. Right, let's take a look at Vector. As you can see, I've got Vector up here on the screen, and it paid a dividend, or it went ex-dividend back on the 16th of March. Now, this can be quite common, and I've spoken of this before, that you can see shares drop when they go ex-dividend. And the reason for that is because quite often there are people out there that like to hold the shares until the date that it goes ex-dividend, purely so that they can receive that dividend and then perhaps reinvest elsewhere. The interesting thing was, though, that if I look at that candle, it was a green candle. So it did actually close up that day that it went ex-dividend. So that is not normally the case. However, you can see here, prior to it going ex-dividend, we've had 5 weeks in a row where Vector actually fell. So that was obviously during the times where we were having a lot of uncertainty with the wars and bits and pieces, and that can be quite common. So that could also be why potentially it then started to rally on again. The last weeks, we haven't really seen too much movement. We've just sort of got that real doji sitting there. So you can see there was only about 516,000 worth of shares traded. And you can tell that on the bottom down there as well. Very, very low, especially in relation to all the other bars leading up to it. This last bar here was the 28th of April, and just on that particular day, it had a lot of volume. But let's go and have a look at the 1 year chart and just see what that's telling us. You can see here, if I hover in, that is the bar that's actually showing on the 5 year chart. There was a lot going on there that day. There was 831 million shares traded just in Vector on that particular day. And you can see, look at that big spike in volume down there. However, we had another down day, but then we've had Thursday, Friday last week were good positive days for Vector. So that is a really good sign. Let's go back to the 5 year chart and we'll put our moving averages on and just see what they're telling us. Just remember though, I do use the 30 exponential, and I also compare that to the 15 exponential as well. And there we go there. So Vector for me is one share that I have been holding during all this uncertainty. I purchased it some time ago, and it is one that's actually weathered out the storms that we've been seeing with the likes of the wars and obviously what Trump is doing with markets. And you can see here that if I zoom in, the 15-week moving average crossed around here, which was the end of September 2024. And then since then, Vector has been on a fairly good run. Even though the shares did fall below those moving averages back at the beginning of February for those 5 weeks, not at any stage did the 15-week moving average cross through the 30. And because I've got my stop losses in place, it was wide enough to let me see out that downward pressure. Now we've seen a bit more upward pressure. In the last 5 weeks, we've seen a good, strong growth. It's not trading at its all-time high. That was back around June last year, and it hit a high there of just over $5, $5.07. So we're not that far off it. Be interesting to see what does end up happening with Vector. Let's take these moving averages off. I mean, Vector, I'm certainly quite happy to hold. I'm more than comfortable with it. But where it goes, who knows? Let's make a comparison between the New Zealand main board and just see how that is performing. And you can see here, that blue line is the main board for the New Zealand Stock Exchange, and Vector is obviously trading above it. Over a 5 year period, the New Zealand main board in comparison to Vector, main board's been trading about 3%, nearly 4% positive. Vector has been trading closer to 21, so 20.8. So that's a really good positive sign for Vector. And that's something that I like to see when I'm looking at buying shares. The other thing with Vector as well is it has been paying a dividend all the way through. So you generally see it paying dividend roughly every 6 months, and that's what these Ds are denoted by. Now, someone messaged me just recently, and they're quite correct. Quite often, if a company stops paying dividends, that can be a warning sign or a precursor, if you like, that there could be something happening in the wings that hasn't yet been announced to the market. So with Vector still paying those regular dividends, it is a really good sign to see. So like I said, I'm really happy holding Vector. I'll continue to do so until my stop losses are hit, and then we will take it from there. Now I'll just stop sharing. Also, just coming up to let you know that I have got a free webinar. It's certainly taking back control of your money. It's for 3 days for 1 hour each day. And that is starting on the 26th of May, 10:30. So the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 10:30 each of the 3 days. And we're just going to give you a bit of an insight as to what I can actually do to help you get back on track, really, with your finances if you're having a little bit of difficulty. So I'd love to see you there. I'll include the link in the show notes. And remember, if you do have a share you'd like me to review, reach out. Happy to do that. So until next week, take care.